The screaming started at dawn. Captain Marcus Voss pressed his face against the reinforced viewport of the detention block, watching the Cathari mob surge through the colony's main thoroughfare. Their translucent blue skin rippled with bioluminescent fury, tentacles writhing as they dragged someone through the dirt. "Sir, we have orders to remain neutral," Lieutenant Torres whispered behind him. Marcus didn't respond. He couldn't. Because the figure being dragged wasn't Cathari. It was human. A woman, her legs bloodied, her medical uniform torn beyond recognition. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the colony's chief physician, the woman who had saved more Cathari lives than any other human in the sector, she poisoned our younglings. The mob leader's voice crackled through the universal translator. "Death to the human deceiver." Marcus's hands clenched into fists. 3 days ago, a plague had swept through the Cathari nursery district. Elena had worked 72 hours straight, developing a treatment that saved hundreds of their young. But when 12 still died despite her efforts, grief had twisted into rage, and rage into accusation. "The Cathari Tribunal has declared her guilty of genocide," Torres continued. "Command says we cannot interfere with their justice system." Justice. Marcus watched Elena's head bounce against the stones, her consciousness fading in and out. The Cathari had a concept of justice that involved public execution by dismemberment, slow, methodical, designed to maximize suffering, sir. If we act, it could trigger a war. The Cathari Alliance controls 47 star systems. I know what we can't do, Marcus said quietly. The question is what we should do. The mob reached the execution plaza. Marcus had studied Cathari customs extensively. They would bind Elena to the ceremonial posts, then begin the ritual cutting. It would take hours. The crowd would cheer. As each piece was removed, believing they were appeasing the spirits of the dead younglings. "She's innocent," Marcus said. "The plague came from off-world. The xenobiological analysis confirmed it yesterday. The report won't be released until after the execution. Political timing. Political timing." Marcus thought of Elena's hands, steady and gentle as she worked. How she'd learned to speak Cathari, not just phonetically, but with the proper bioluminescent patterns that conveyed empathy. How she'd cried when the first youngling died. Even though she'd done everything possible, the mob was binding her to the posts now. Elena's eyes opened, searching the crowd. Even from this distance, Marcus could see the fear there. Not for herself, he knew Elena well enough to know that but for what her death would mean. The treaty, the peace, the future. "Update from command," Torres said, checking his come. "Under no circumstances are we to intervene. This is a direct order from Admiral Reeves." Marcus nodded slowly. Then he turned from the viewport and walked toward the armory. "Sir, where are you going? To get my rifle." "Captain, you can't. I'm not acting as a representative of Earth Command," Marcus said, pulling on his combat harness. "I'm acting as a human being." The ceremonial blade was rising. Elena's eyes closed, preparing for the first cut. In the distance, Marcus could hear the Cathari death chant beginning. A low harmonic vibration that made the very air seem to pulse with malevolent energy. Time was running out. Marcus sealed his helmet and checked his weapons charge. The M47 pulse rifle hummed with lethal potential, its targeting system painting trajectories across his HUD. 47 Cathari warriors surrounded the execution plaza. His suit's computer calculated his survival chances at 0.0003%. Captain Torres stepped in front of him. "Think about what you're doing. Elena wouldn't want you to start a war over her. She won't have to want anything if she's dead." The lieutenant's face was pale. "Command will court-martial you. They'll strip your rank, your pension, everything you've worked for." Marcus paused at the airlock, through the transparisteel. He could see the ceremonial executioner raising the bioblade above Elena's restrained form. The weapon was designed to cauterize as it cut, preventing death from blood loss. Maximum suffering, maximum spectacle. 20 years I've served, Marcus said. 20 years of following orders, maintaining peace, preserving the greater good. You know what I've learned, sir? The greater good is meaningless if we sacrifice the actual good to achieve it. The airlock cycled. Marcus stepped into the alien atmosphere, his suit's systems automatically adjusting to the heavier gravity and toxic air. The Cathari mob was 300 meters away, their bioluminescent skin pulsing in synchronized waves of BLOODLUST. His cum crackled. "Captain Voss, this is Admiral Reeves. Stand down immediately. That is a direct order." Marcus reached up and switched off his communicator. The first Cathari warrior spotted him as he approached the plaza's outer perimeter. The creature's tentacles flared in alarm, its skin flashing the rapid orange patterns that indicated danger. Within seconds, the entire mob was aware of his presence. "Human." The executioner's voice boomed across the plaza. "You dare interrupt the sacred justice of the Cathari?" Marcus raised his rifle. "I dare many things." The crowd parted as he walked forward, their rage momentarily overcome by confusion. Humans didn't do this. Humans were careful, diplomatic, concerned with consequences. They negotiated, they compromised, they found middle ground. They didn't march alone into certain death. "You violate the treaty," the executioner hissed. "Your people agreed to non-interference." "I didn't agree to anything." Kosa kept walking, his rifle trained on the creature's center mass. "I just agreed to wear the uniform." Elena's eyes opened as he approached. Blood trickled from her mouth, but she was conscious. Her gaze met his through his helmet's visor, and he saw something there that made his chest tighten. Not gratitude, not relief. Understanding. She knew what this meant, what it would cost. "Release her," Marcus said simply. The executioner's tentacles writhed in amusement.
Oh.
One human against the assembled justice of Cathari. "You will die slowly, and she will die after watching your suffering. Maybe, but you'll die first." The plaza fell silent. In Cathari culture, direct challenges were sacred, binding. The executioner couldn't back down without losing face before the entire population. Marcus knew that if he could kill their leader, the mob might scatter long enough for him to reach Elena. "Your weapon against my blade," the executioner said. "Single combat. If you win, the human goes free. If I lose, nothing changes. You were going to kill her anyway." The executioner's skin pulsed with dark purple satisfaction. "Agreed." Marcus lowered his rifle. Around them, the crowd began to form a circle, their chants shifting from death song to combat him. Elena struggled against her bonds, trying to speak, but her voice was too weak to carry. The executioner raised the bioblade. Its edge glowed with molecular sharpness, designed to slice through Cathari carapace like paper. Against human flesh, it would be even more devastating. "Begin." The crowd roared. Marcus smiled and raised his rifle again. The executioner's skin flashed from purple to blazing crimson. "Deception. You lowered your weapon." "I lowered it," Marcus said, sighting down the barrel. "I didn't put it away." The crowd erupted in confused chatter. Cathari combat rituals were precise, ceremonial. There were rules, protocols, honorable conduct. But Marcus had studied their customs more carefully than they realized. "Single combat," he continued. "Your weapon against mine? You never specified melee only." The executioner's tentacles writhed in fury. "This is not honorable battle." "You're right." Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. "Honorable battle is between equals. This is pest control." He fired. The pulse beam caught the executioner's center mass, the creature's translucent flesh cooking from within. It dropped the bioblade and staggered backward, its death screams echoing across the plaza. The crowd fell silent, their bioluminescent patterns shifting to shocked white. Marcus kept the rifle trained on the crowd. Anyone else want to discuss honor? But the Cathari weren't retreating. Their shock was transforming into something else: rage, yes, but also recognition. In their culture, strength was respected above all else. The human had just demonstrated that their executioner was weak, unworthy of leadership. "You have claimed blood right," one of the warriors said. "By combat law, you now lead this tribunal." Marcus blinked. He hadn't expected that. "I what?" "You killed our justice speaker. By ancient law, you assume his authority. The female's fate is now yours to decide." Elena was staring at him, her eyes wide with disbelief. Around them, the crowd was beginning to kneel, their skin patterns shifting to the submissive green of acknowledged hierarchy. "I choose to free her," Marcus said quickly. "It is not so simple," the warrior replied. "The younglings are still dead. Justice must be served. If not the female, then another must pay the price. The plague came from off-world. She's innocent. Proof? Marcus's mind raced. The xenobiological report wouldn't be released for hours, but he had access to the preliminary data through his command codes. My ship's computer has the analysis. The plague organism shows clear signs of artificial modification. It was a biological weapon. The crowd stirred. Biological weapons were a violation of Cathari's sacred law. The murder of younglings was considered the ultimate blasphemy. If someone had deliberately targeted their children, show us, the warrior demanded. Marcus activated. His computer, transmit preliminary xenobiological analysis of the plague organism to the plaza's public display system. Warning, this data is classified pending political review, override authorization VOS Alpha 7. The holographic display flickered to life above the crowd. Data streams cascaded through the air, showing molecular structures, genetic markers, modification signatures. The evidence was undeniable. The plague had been engineered. It's targeted specifically at Cathari physiology. The crowd's skin patterns shifted to deep black, the color of absolute rage. Who? The warrior whispered. Who dared murder our younglings? Marcus studied the data, his heart sinking. The genetic markers were distinctive, traceable. The plague had been created by the Zarian Collective, a human splinter faction that had been conducting illegal bioweapons research in the Outer Rim. Humans, he said quietly. But not us. Not the Alliance. A rogue faction. The crowd's attention fixed on him with predatory intensity. In their minds, the guilt had shifted from Elena to humanity as a whole, and Marcus was the only human within. Reach, then you will pay the price, the warrior said. Blood for blood, life for life. Marcus looked at Elena, still bound to the posts. Her eyes were pleading with him, but not for her life. For his, she was trying to tell him to run, to leave. Her, to save himself. There's another way, he said. The crowd fell silent. Trial by ordeal, I'll undergo the Cathari test of truth. If I survive, both the female and humanity are cleared of guilt. If I die, justice is served. The warrior's tentacles twitched with interest. The trial of truth was an ancient ritual rarely invoked. It involved exposure to the native neural toxins that had shaped Cathari evolution for millennia. Most aliens died within minutes. Those who survived were considered touched by the spirits themselves. You know what you propose? The warrior asked. Marcus nodded. Better than slow death by dismemberment. The toxins will show your true nature. If you are guilty of deception, they will kill you in agony. If you are innocent, the warrior paused. None have survived who were not Cathari. Then I'll be the first. Bah! The ritual chamber was carved from living rock, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent veins that cast dancing shadows across the ancient floor. Marcus knelt in the center, his arms bound behind his back, watching the Cathari shamans prepare the neural toxins. Elena had been brought to witness. Her medical training made her understand exactly what was about to happen. The toxins would cross the blood-brain barrier, stripping away higher cognitive functions while amplifying raw emotional response. If Marcus harbored any guilt, any deception, the chemicals would turn his own thoughts against him. The human shows courage, one of the shamans observed, its tentacles weaving complex patterns in the air. But courage without truth is merely foolishness. Marcus watched the toxin being loaded into the ceremonial injector. The liquid was deep purple, almost black, with an oily consistency that seemed to move with its own life. How long does it? Take moments for the guilty, the shaman replied. The toxins feed on deception, growing stronger with each falsehood they find. The innocent experience, enlightenment. Or so the legends say, legends. As I mentioned, none who are not Cathari have survived. Your species may simply be incompatible with the sacred chemicals. Marcus felt Elena's eyes on him. She was trying to speak, but her voice was still too weak. He could read her expression, though. She was terrified not for herself, but for what he was about to endure. Begin, he said simply. The shaman pressed. The injector against his neck. Marcus felt the cold liquid entering his bloodstream, spreading through his system like ice water. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the world exploded into chaos. Colors became sounds. Sounds became physical sensations. The bioluminescent walls began to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat, and he could feel the ancient stone breathing around him. The toxins were rewriting his neural pathways, forcing his brain to process reality through completely alien filters. Then came the questions. They weren't spoken aloud. They formed directly in his mind, burning like brands across his consciousness. Each question was accompanied by a compulsion to answer, to reveal the absolute truth of his thoughts. Did you come here to save the female? Yes. The word tore from his throat before he could consider it. Do you care for her? Yes. Again, involuntary, honest. Are you willing to die for her? Yes. The shamans exchanged glances. The toxins were working as intended, but Marcus wasn't. Showing signs of distress. If anything, he seemed calmer, more focused. Do you believe she is innocent? Absolutely. Do you believe your species is innocent? Here Marcus hesitated. The truth was complex, nuanced. The Alliance was innocent of creating the plague, but they'd known about the rogue faction's research. They'd chosen to ignore it too. Let the Zarian Collective continue their work as long as it remained in the Outer Rim. No, he said finally. We knew. We could have stopped it. The crowd stirred. This wasn't the answer they'd expected. Guilty human would have protested innocence, would have tried to shift blame. But Marcus was confessing to knowledge, to complicity. Why did you not act? Because we were afraid. Afraid of the consequences. Afraid of making hard choices. The toxins were working deeper now, stripping away not just deception, but the comfortable lies humans told themselves. Marcus felt his consciousness expanding, touching something vast and alien that existed just beyond normal perception. What? Do you feel for the Cathari? Respect, fear, admiration? Each word came with perfect clarity. You make choices based on what you believe is right, not what's convenient. And now I understand why Alina chose to help your younglings. Not because it was safe, but because it was necessary. The shamans were watching him with growing amazement. The toxins should have killed him by now, should have turned his guilt into a weapon against his own mind. Instead, they seemed to be purifying him, burning away everything except essential truth. What do you want? I want Alina to live. I want the real killers to face justice. I want ... Marcus paused, feeling something profound stirring in his chest. I want to be worthy of the uniform I wear. The bioluminescent walls pulsed brighter, responding to something in his voice. The ancient stones seemed to hum with approval. What are you willing to sacrifice? Everything. No hesitation. My rank, my career, my life, whatever it takes. Why? Because some things are more important than survival. Some things are worth dying for. Toxins reached their peak concentration. Marcus felt his consciousness expanding beyond his physical body, touching the vast network of life that connected all things. He could feel Elena's pain, the crowd's confusion, the shaman's wonder. For a moment, he was part of something larger than himself. Then the vision faded, leaving him kneeling in the chamber. Alive and aware, the shamans stared at him in silence. Finally, the eldest spoke. The spirits have judged. The human speaks truth. Both he and the female are innocent of the younglings' deaths. The plaza erupted in confused chatter as the shamans announced their verdict. Marcus struggled to his feet, his nervous system still reeling from the toxins. The world seemed brighter, more vivid, as if he was seeing it through new eyes. Alina was being released from the posts. She stumbled toward him, her medical training, overriding her own injuries as she examined his pupils, checked his pulse. Marcus, what did you do? Those toxins should have killed you. I told the truth, he said simply. Apparently, that's all they wanted. But the crowd's mood was shifting again. The shamans might have declared them innocent, but justice still demanded satisfaction. The younglings were dead. Someone had to pay the real killers, Marcus said, raising his voice to address the assembly. The Zarian Collective. They're operating from a research station in the Deneb system. Your ship is surrounded. One of the warriors pointed out, your people will not allow you to act against fellow humans. Marcus activated his computer, established connection to Admiral Reeves. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the Admiral's stern face. Behind him, Marcus could see the bridge of the dreadnought Valiant, the Alliance's flagship in this sector. Captain Voss, the Admiral's voice was ice-cold. You've violated direct orders and endangered the peace treaty. You will surrender immediately for court-martial. Sir, I have evidence that the plague was created by the Zarian Collective. The Cathari have been testing me with neural toxins, and I've been declared innocent of genocide. The Cathari trial has no legal standing with Earth Command. My actions have prevented a war, Marcus interrupted. The Cathari were about to execute an innocent woman. Now, they know the truth. The Admiral's expression darkened. The political ramifications of your interference are irrelevant. Marcus looked at Alina, then at the crowd of Cathari warriors surrounding them. Sir, I'm requesting permission to lead a joint task. Force to the Deneb system, Earth's command and Cathari forces working together to arrest the real killers. Absolutely not. The Zarian Collective may be conducting illegal research, but they're still human. We don't turn our own species over to aliens. The crowd's skin patterns shifted to angry orange. They could understand enough of the conversation to know they were being denied justice. Sir Marcus said carefully with respect, that's exactly the kind of thinking that created this mess. We protected the collective because they were human, not because they were right. Captain, you are relieved of command. Dr. Torres, place him under arrest. Through the communicator, Marcus could see Torres hesitate. The lieutenant's face was pale, conflicted. Sir, the captain, may have a point. If we don't act, the Cathari will assume we're complicit. That's not your decision to make, Lieutenant. But Marcus was already moving. He reached up and switched off the communicator, then turned to face the Cathari warriors. My superiors refuse to act. They're more concerned with human politics than with justice. The eldest shaman stepped forward. Then you will act alone? Necessary? Marcus looked at Alina. But I won't ask anyone else to sacrifice their career for this. Alina straightened, despite her injuries. I'm with you, Alina. You don't understand. This is treason. If we move against the collective without Earth Command authorization, the collective murdered children, she said firmly. Innocent children. If that's not worth committing treason over, what is? The shamans exchanged glances, and the eldest spoke again. Spirits have shown us your true nature, Marcus Voss. You are not like other humans. You choose justice. Over convenience? Honor over safety? I choose what's right. Then you will be our champion. The Cathari will provide ships, warriors, whatever you need. But you must lead the assault, the spirits demanded. Marcus felt the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. He was about to cross a line he could never uncross. Earth's command would brand him a traitor. His friends, his family, his entire life would be forfeit. But the alternative was worse. The collective would continue their research, would create more weapons, would kill more innocents. And the Cathari would lose faith in human justice forever. I accept, he said. The crowd erupted in approval, their skin patterns shifting to the bright blue of acceptance. The shamans began chanting, their voices weaving together in harmonious patterns that seemed to make the very air vibrate with power. Alina moved to his side. He realized we're about to attack a heavily fortified research station with alien allies against direct orders from Earth Command. I realize it. You're okay with that? Marcus looked at her, remembering how she'd looked when they were dragging her through the streets, how she'd closed her eyes, preparing to die for something she hadn't done. How she'd worked 72 hours straight to save Cathari younglings, even knowing they might blame her for the ones she couldn't save. I'm okay with it, he said. The eldest shaman approached, carrying something in his tentacles. It was a weapon, not Cathari, but something else entirely. Ancient, powerful, humming with barely contained energy. This was left by the predecessors, the shaman said. Those who came before us, who shaped the galaxy in ages past. It chooses its own wielder, and it has chosen you. Marcus took the weapon, feeling its weight, its potential. The metal was warm to the touch, and he could swear he felt a pulse like a heartbeat. What does it do? It judges, the shaman replied. It executes judgment. The war council convened in the ancient chambers, beneath the Cathari capital, where the walls themselves seemed to pulse with living light. Marcus sat at the center of the circular table, the predecessor weapon, resting across his knees. Around him, Cathari war leaders argued strategy in their complex harmonic language. Alina worked at a medical station nearby, treating the injuries she'd sustained during the mob attack. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, but Marcus could see the tension in her shoulders. They were both about to cross into uncharted territory. The research station is here, war leader HFY projected a holographic star map into the center of the table, the Deneb system, third planet. Heavily shielded orbital defense platforms, approximately 200 humans aboard, mostly scientists, Marcus added. But they'll have security forces, military-grade weapons. Our ships can breach their defenses, another war leader stated. But casualties will be high. The humans will fight to protect their own. Marcus studied the tactical display. The collective station was a fortress designed to withstand both natural disasters and hostile action. Taking it would require precision, not just firepower. We need them alive, he said. If we simply destroy the station, we'll never prove what they did. The evidence will be gone. The spirits demand justice, HFY replied, not evidence. The spirits also demand truth. If we kill them all, the truth dies with them. Elena looked up from her medical work. Marcus, there's something you need to know. I've been analyzing the plague samples. The bioweapon wasn't just targeted at Cathari physiology. It was designed to evolve, to adapt. The collective was creating a universal pathogen. The chamber fell silent. A universal pathogen meant a weapon that could be used against any species, including humanity itself. They were planning to sell it, Marcus realized, to the highest bidder. Gets worse, Alina continued. The samples show signs of recent modification. They're not just researching bioweapons. They're actively producing them. HFY's skin flashed deep red. How many weapons? How many targets? I don't know. But if they have production facilities? Alina met Marcus's eyes. They could wipe out entire worlds. The weight of the revelation settled over the council. This wasn't just about justice for the Cathari younglings anymore. It was about preventing a catastrophe that could reshape the galaxy. My ship, Marcus said suddenly. The determination. It's still in orbit, still under Torres's command. If I can convince him to join us, your people will never agree to attack fellow humans, HFY pointed out. They might if they knew the truth. Torres is a good man, cares about doing what's right. Marcus activated his communicator, hoping Torres hadn't been ordered to ignore his transmissions. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the bridge of the determination. Captain Torres looked exhausted, conflicted. Sir, I have orders to arrest you on sight. Torres, I need you to listen to me. The collective isn't just making weapons for the Cathari conflict. They're developing universal pathogens. Weapons that could be used against Earth itself. Sir, that's not possible. The collective may be conducting questionable research, but they're still humans. It wouldn't what? Wouldn't kill children for profit? They already have. Lena stepped into the communicators. Range, Lieutenant. I'm transmitting the complete plague analysis to your ship's computer. Look at the data. The pathogen was designed to evolve to adapt to new species. It's not a defensive weapon. It's a tool of genocide. Torres's face went pale as he reviewed the data. My God, this is ... This is monstrous. Torres, Marcus said carefully, I'm going to ask you to make a choice. The same choice I made.
Oh.
You can follow orders and let the collective continue their work, or you can do what's right. The bridge behind Torres was in chaos. Marcus could see other officers reviewing the data, their faces showing the same horror Torres was experiencing. Sir, Torres said finally, what are you asking? I'm asking you to join me, to bring the determination and her crew to the Deneb system. to help us shut down the collective's operation. That's mutiny, sir. Yes, it is. Torres was quiet for a long moment. Then, the crew is asking questions, sir, about the data, about what it means, about why command is protecting the collective. And what are you telling them? The truth. Torres straightened in his chair. Sir, the determination is ready to depart on your orders. The Cathari war leaders erupted in approval, their skin patterns shifting to brilliant blue. They had expected to fight alone with primitive weapons against human technology. Now they would have human allies, human ships, human expertise. There's one more thing, Marcus said. Admiral Reeves will send the entire fleet to stop us. The moment we move against the collective, Earth Command will brand us all as traitors. Then we'd better move fast, Torres replied. And we'd better be right. Marcus looked around the War Council, at the alien faces staring back at him with trust and expectation. At Alina, who had risked everything to save lives. At the communicator, where Torres waited for orders that would define the rest of his career. Plot a course for the Deneb system, he said. All ships, maximum speed, sir, Torres said. What about the fleet? Marcus lifted the predecessor weapon, feeling its power humming through his hands. Let them come. We'll be ready. The War Council dispersed Cathari warriors streaming toward their ships. Within hours, the combined fleet would be jumping to hyperspace, racing toward a confrontation that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Alina approached him as the chamber emptied. Marcus. You know there's no going back from this. I know. Earth Command will never forgive you. Even if we're right, even if we save countless lives, they'll court-martial you. They'll strip your rank, your honors, everything. Marcus thought of the younglings who had died, of the weapons still being produced, of the trust in the Cathari warriors' eyes. Some things are worth losing everything for. She smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her since the ordeal began. I was hoping you'd say that. The combined fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Deneb system, 23. Ships arranged in attack formation. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Determination, watching the tactical display as the collective's defenses came online. Orbital platforms are powering weapons, Torres reported. 14 defense satellites, each with enough firepower to cripple a cruiser, and the station itself, heavily shielded. We'll need to take out the orbital defenses first, then somehow breach the main facility without destroying it. Thari. Warships were unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. They seemed to grow from the darkness itself, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. No two were identical. The ship was crafted individually, shaped by the dreams and visions of its creators. War Leader HFY signals ready, the communications officer reported. Marcus lifted the predecessor weapon, feeling its weight. The ancient device had been responding to his thoughts, his emotions growing warmer as they approached their destination. He had the distinct feeling it was eager for what was about to happen. All ships, commence attack. The battle erupted in brilliant flashes of light. Cathari bioweapons lanced out like living lightning, seeking the weak points in the defense. Network. Human pulse cannons answered with streams of coherent energy. The orbital platforms returned fire, their massive guns filling space with deadly crossfire. Platform 7 is down, Torres called out. Cathari's ship, Vengeance of the Young, took heavy damage, but she's still fighting. Marcus watched the battle unfold, his mind calculating possibilities. The collective's defenses were strong, but not impregnable. The real challenge would be breaching the station itself without giving the scientists time to destroy their research. Sir, the tactical officer spoke up, I'm detecting movement inside the station. Multiple ships launching from the internal. Bays? Evacuation? Negative. They're armed. Combat vessels. Cursed. Cursed, the collective hadn't just been developing weapons. They'd been preparing for a fight. The launching ships were sleek, fast, designed for hit-and-run tactics. They spread out in attack formation, targeting the most damaged vessels in the combined fleet. They're going after the Cathari ships, Torres observed. Trying to break our alliance, not if I can help it. Marcus moved to the weapons console. Target the lead collective ship, full power. The Determination's main gun spoke with thunder. The pulse beam caught the collective vessel amidships, splitting it in half. But there were more ships launching, more weapons targeting his allies. The predecessor weapon grew hot in his hands. Marcus could feel it responding to the battle, to his determination to protect the innocent.
Oh.
Energy coursed through the ancient metal, and suddenly he understood what he had to do. Torres, take us in. Full speed, directly at the station. Sir, that's suicide. Their defensive guns won't be able to target us. Marcus raised the predecessor weapon, feeling its power merge with his own will. The weapon discharged, not a beam or projectile, but something else entirely. A wave of pure force that seemed to bend space itself. The station's shields flickered and died. The defensive guns fell silent. Every system on the massive structure went dark. What did you do? Torres whispered. I judged them, Marcus replied, and the weapon found them wanting. The Determination swept toward the darkened station, her landing bays opening. Marcus was already moving, the weapon at his side, Alina close behind. They had minutes before the collective's emergency power came online. Minutes to secure the evidence that would justify their actions. Boarding party with me, Marcus commanded. Full assault gear. We're going in. The corridors of the research station were sterile, white, filled with the hum of machinery. Marcus led the assault team deeper into the facility, following the schematics Torres had transmitted to their tactical displays. Research labs are on level 7, Alina said, checking her scanner. That's where they'll have the evidence. And the scientists? Probably destroying it as we speak? Marcus picked up the pace. The predecessor weapon hummed with energy, seeming to guide them through the maze of corridors. Behind them, Cathari warriors moved with predatory grace. There. Weapons ready. They reached level 7 to find chaos. Scientists in lab coats were frantically erasing data, destroying samples, trying to eliminate any trace of their work. Security forces had barricaded themselves in the main laboratory, their weapons trained on the approaching assault team. This is Captain Marcus Voss of the Earth Alliance, Marcus announced over the facility's communication system. You are under arrest for crimes against sentient life. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. The response was a hail of gunfire. Pulse beams scorched the walls where Marcus had been standing moments before. The Cathari warriors returned fire, their bioweapons seeking targets with organic precision. They're not surrendering, Torres observed, taking cover behind an overturned table. Then we do this the hard way. Marcus raised the predecessor weapon, feeling its power building. Lena, can you access their computer systems? If I can reach? The main terminal. She pointed to a console across the firefight. But it's in the middle of the lab. Marcus nodded. The weapon discharged again, this time creating a corridor of force that deflected the enemy fire. Alina sprinted across the open space, diving behind the console as pulse beams seared the air above her. I'm in, she called out. Marcus, you need to see this. The main holographic display flickered to life, showing the contents of the collectives. Research files. What Marcus saw made his blood run cold. The plague that had killed the Cathari younglings was just the beginning. The collective had developed dozens of bioweapons, each one tailored to specific species. They have weapons for everyone, Alina said, her voice shaking. Humans Cathari, the Valdorian Empire, the Centauri Federation. They were planning too. Sell to all sides. But there was more. The files showed distribution networks, buyer contacts, delivery schedules. The collective wasn't just developing weapons, they were already selling them. Dear God, Torres whispered. They've been at this for years. The security forces had stopped firing, their attention caught by the revelations on the display. Even they hadn't known the full scope of their employer's activities. Download everything, Marcus ordered. Every file, every record. We need proof. Already on it, Elena replied. But Marcus, there's something else. The next shipment goes out tomorrow. Weapon designed specifically for the Terran colonies. Someone's planning to use it against human civilians. Marcus felt the weight of the moment. The collective wasn't just threatening alien species, they were preparing to turn their weapons against their own kind. The galaxy was balanced on the edge of a catastrophe that would make the Cathari plague look like a minor outbreak. "Who's the buyer?" he asked. Elena's face went pale. The Terran Liberation Front. They're planning to use it to cleanse the outer colonies of alien influence. The TLF was a human supremacist organization that had been gaining support in the frontier worlds. If they got their hands on the collective's weapons, they would trigger a genocidal war that would consume the galaxy. "We have to stop that shipment," Marcus said. "It's already loaded," one of the security officers called out. He had lowered his weapon, his face showing the same horror Marcus felt. "Ship, Nemesis, departed 2 hours ago. Destination, Proxima Station." Marcus closed his eyes, calculating distances and hyperspace travel times. The Nemesis had a head start, but the combined fleet was faster. They could intercept the ship before it reached its destination. Torres, signal the fleet. We're leaving. "Now, sir. We haven't finished securing the facility. The facility can wait. If that weapon reaches the TLF, millions of innocent people will die." The assault team began withdrawing, carrying the downloaded evidence and several cooperative scientists, who had agreed to testify about the collective's activities. The Cathari warriors provided rearguard action, their bioweapons keeping the remaining security forces pinned down as they reached the docking bay. Marcus's communicator crackled to life. Admiral Reeves appeared on the display, his face rigid. With anger, "Captain Voss, you are in violation of direct orders. Stand down immediately." "Admiral, the collective has been developing weapons for sale to terrorist organizations. They have a shipment heading for Proxima Station right now. That's not your concern. You will surrender yourself and your conspirators for court-martial." Marcus looked at the evidence Elena had downloaded at the terrified faces of the scientists, who had finally understood what they'd been part of, at the Cathari warriors, who had trusted him with their lives. "No, sir, I won't." "Then you are a traitor to humanity." "If stopping genocide makes me a traitor," Marcus replied, "then I'm proud to be one." He severed the connection and turned to Torres. "How long until the fleet arrives?" 40 minutes. "Less. Then we have 40 minutes to stop the Nemesis. All ships, jump to hyperspace. Emergency speed." Hyperspace twisted around the combined fleet as they raced toward Proxima Station. Marcus stood on the bridge of the Determination, watching the tactical display track their intercept course with the Nemesis. The collective vessel had a head start, but they were gaining. "Estimate intercept in 37 minutes, Torres reported. "But sir, there's a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting Admiral Reeves's task force. They're moving to intercept us." Marcus studied the display. 12 Earth Alliance vessels, including the dreadnought Valiant, were converging on their position. Reeves had positioned his fleet to arrive at Proxima Station moments after the combined fleet. "He's forcing a confrontation," Marcus realized. "Wants to stop us in front of the station, with witnesses." To make an example, Elena added, "Was working at a medical station, treating wounded Cathari warriors from the assault. Show the galaxy what happens to humans who side with aliens." The predecessor weapon rested against Marcus's chair, its surface warm to the touch. He could feel its power building, responding to his growing determination. The ancient device seemed to understand that a critical moment was approaching. "Sir," the communications officer spoke up. "War Leader Keksai is requesting permission to engage the Admiral's fleet." "Denied. We're not fighting Earth forces. Our enemy is the Nemesis and her cargo. But sir, if they stop us, they won't." Marcus lifted the predecessor weapon, feeling its weight. "I won't let them." The minutes ticked by with agonizing slowness. The Nemesis was almost within weapons range, but so was Admiral Reeves's fleet. The timing would be crucial. They needed to disable the collective ship before the Earth forces arrived. "Contact," Torres announced. "The Nemesis is dropping out of hyperspace. She's heading for Proxima Station. All ships, attack formation. Target the Nemesis. Disable her engines, but don't destroy her. We need that cargo intact." Combined fleet emerged from hyperspace in a blaze of weapons fire. The Nemesis was a fast courier, lightly armed but heavily shielded. She immediately began evasive maneuvers, trying to reach the safety of the station's defensive perimeter. "She's jamming our communications," Torres reported. "Can't warn the station about the bioweapon." Marcus watched the Nemesis racing toward The crowded civilian station, Proxima, was a major hub, home to 2 million people from dozens of species. If the TLF got their hands on the bioweapon, the casualties would be catastrophic. Cathari ships target the Nemesis, full power. The organic warships responded with streams of bioenergy, their weapons seeking the weak points in the courier's shields. The Nemesis shuddered under the assault, her engines flickering, but she kept moving. "She's launching escape pods," the tactical officer reported. "Multiple contacts, heading for the station." "Those aren't escape pods," Elena said, studying her scanner. "They're delivery drones." "The cargo is already dispersed," Marcus cursed. The TLF had planned for this contingency. Even if they destroyed the Nemesis, the bioweapons would still reach their destination. Station's security forces would have no idea what they were dealing with. "Torres, take us in, full speed, directly at the station." "Sir, we'll be violating neutral space." "The station's defenses won't fire on a ship with Earth Alliance markings?" "Not immediately." The determination accelerated toward Proxima Station, her engines straining. Behind them, the Nemesis exploded under concentrated fire from the Cathari fleet. But the damage was done. The delivery drones were already docking with the station. "Sir," Torres said urgently, "Admiral Reeves's fleet is dropping out of hyperspace. They're demanding we stand down. Ignore them." "Elena, can you broadcast a warning to the station?" "I'm trying, but their security protocols are blocking alien signals. They think we're attacking." Marcus felt the predecessor weapon growing hot. In his hands, the ancient device was responding to his desperation, his need to protect the innocent. Energy coursed through the metal, and suddenly he understood. "Open a channel to the station, all frequencies." "Sir, that's not possible. They're jamming. Just do it." Marcus raised the predecessor weapon, feeling its power merge with his will. The weapon discharged, not a beam of force, but something else entirely, a wave of pure communication that cut through every jamming signal. Every security protocol, every barrier between him and the station. "This is Captain Marcus Voss of the Earth Alliance. Proxima Station, you are in immediate danger. The cargo delivered by the Nemesis contains biological weapons designed to kill civilian populations. Do not allow those containers to be opened." Response was immediate chaos. The station's security forces began scrambling, trying to locate and contain the delivery drones. But Marcus could see they were too late. Several of the containers had already been opened in the station's commercial district. "Elena, can you synthesize an antidote? We'll need samples of the bioweapon and time." "Lots of time. We'll have it." Marcus turned to Torres. "Dock with the station. Emergency protocols, sir. Admiral Reeves is ordering us to surrender. He's threatening to fire on us." Marcus looked at the tactical display, watching the Admiral's fleet move into attack. Formation: 12 ships against their combined force. The Earth vessels were more heavily armed. But the Cathari had something more important. They had justice on their side. War leader Keksai Marcus said over the comm, "If Admiral Reeves fires on us, you have my permission to return fire. But target engines only. We're not here to kill fellow humans." "Understood, champion. The spirits guide our weapons." The determination docked with Proxima Station just as the first reports of illness began coming in. The bioweapon was already spreading through the civilian population, targeting anyone with non-human DNA. The station's mixed population was particularly vulnerable. "Medical emergency on level 7, Elena reported, reading her scanner. "Multiple casualties, symptoms consistent with the Cathari plague." Marcus gathered an assault team, including several Cathari warriors and Elena's medical staff. They had to reach the affected areas, contain the spread, and find a way to synthesize an antidote before the bioweapon killed thousands. "Sir," Torres called out as they prepared to disembark, "Admiral Reeves is hailing us. Says this is your last chance to surrender." Marcus looked at the predecessor weapon, feeling its power humming through his hands. Then he looked at his crew, at the Cathari warriors who had trusted him, at Elena, who had risked everything to save lives. "Tell the Admiral," he said, "that some things are worth dying for." The commercial district of Proxima Station was a nightmare of chaos and death. Bodies lay scattered across the market floor, victims of the bioweapon that targeted mixed DNA. The screams of the dying echoed through the corridors, as Marcus led his team deeper into the contaminated zone. "Bioweapon is airborne," Alina reported, her medical scanner painting grim readings across her visor. "It's mutating, adapting to new hosts. We have maybe an hour before it spreads to the entire station." Marcus raised the predecessor weapon. Feeling its power building, the ancient device seemed to resonate with the suffering around them, growing warmer with each step. "Can you synthesize an antidote? I need a sample of the pure bioweapon, something that hasn't been contaminated." By exposure to multiple species, they found what they were looking for in the medical BIA-sealed container that had been brought in by the emergency response team. The bioweapon inside was still in its pure form, a dark liquid that seemed to move with malevolent purpose. "This is it," Alina said, connecting the container to her portable laboratory. "Give me 30 minutes, and I can have an antidote ready." "You don't have 30 minutes," Marcus replied, checking his communicator. "Admiral Reeves is moving his fleet into attack position. He's going to fire on the station if we don't surrender." "He wouldn't. There are 2 million civilians here. He thinks we're terrorists. In his mind, he's preventing a greater catastrophe." The predecessor weapon pulsed with energy, and Marcus felt a sudden clarity. The ancient device was showing him possibilities, paths of action that stretched out into the future. He could see the outcomes, the consequences of every choice. If he surrendered, the bioweapon would continue to spread. The antidote would never be completed. Millions would die. If he fought, Admiral Reeves would destroy the station to prevent the terrorists from escaping. Millions would die. There was only one path that led to survival, and it required sacrifice. Lena, Marcus said quietly, "I need you to continue working on the antidote. No matter what happens, don't stop." "Marcus, what are you, Torres? You have command of the determination. If Admiral Reeves fires on the station, you are authorized to return fire." "Hey, sir, I can't." "That's an order." Marcus headed for the airlock, the predecessor weapon at his side. "Kexa, I need you to keep the station's defenses operational. Whatever happens, protect the civilians. Champion, where are you going?" Through the transparisteel, he could see the Earth Alliance fleet moving into attack formation. The Valiant was targeting the station's reactor, preparing to end the threat with overwhelming force. "Going to do what I should have done from the beginning," he said. "I'm going to take responsibility." The airlock cycled, and Marcus stepped into the void between the station and the fleet. The predecessor weapon's power field protected him from the vacuum. Creating a bubble of life in the darkness of space, he began to walk. The sight of a human figure walking through space without a suit or ship caused immediate confusion in the fleet. Marcus could hear the chatter on the communication channels, bewildered reports from sensor operators who couldn't explain what they were seeing. "This is Captain Marcus Voss," he broadcast on all frequencies. "I'm requesting permission to come aboard the Valiant. I have information about the bioweapon that Admiral Reeves needs to hear." The response was immediate. "Captain Voss, you are under arrest for treason. Return to your ship immediately." "I can't do that, Admiral. The bioweapon is already spreading through the station. If you fire on Proxima, you'll kill 2 million innocent people. The bioweapon is a lie. It's justification for your alliance with alien forces." Marcus raised the predecessor weapon, feeling its power building. The ancient device was responding to his will, preparing to demonstrate its capabilities. "Admiral, I'm sending you the complete files we recovered from the Collective's research station. Review them. See the truth." The data stream flowed across space, carried by the weapon's power. Marcus could feel the Admiral's shock as the evidence unfolded: the weapons, the buyers, the planned genocide. The scope of the Collective's crimes was overwhelming. "My God," Admiral Reeves whispered. "This is ... This is monstrous. Now you understand why we couldn't follow orders, why we had to act." But the damage was done. The bioweapon was spreading. The station's population was dying, and the Earth Alliance fleet was still in attack formation. Trust had been broken, and it would take more than evidence to repair it. Admiral Marcus said, "I need you to stand down your fleet. Let us save the people on that station. Captain, you've violated direct orders. You've attacked human facilities, allied with alien forces, committed acts of war against your own species. I've done what was necessary. That's not your decision to make, Marcus felt the predecessor weapon reaching its peak power. The ancient device was showing him one final path, one last choice that could save everyone. But it would require the ultimate sacrifice. "You're right," he said. "It's not my decision. It's the weapons. It's the predecessor weapon discharged, not at the fleet, but at Marcus himself." The energy coursed through his body, transforming him, elevating him, making him something more than human. He could feel his consciousness expanding, touching the minds of everyone in the system. Admiral Reeves felt at first the sudden clarity, the understanding of Marcus's true nature. The weapon wasn't just a tool of war. It was a judge, a force, of cosmic justice that had been waiting for someone worthy to wield it. "Stand down," Admiral Reeves ordered his fleet. "All ships, stand down. Captain Voss, ... what have you become?" Marcus looked at his hands, seeing the energy flowing through them. He was still human, but also something more. The weapon had chosen him, not just as a wielder, but as a vessel for its power. "I've become what I always was," he said. "Someone who protects the innocent." He turned back toward the station where Alina was working desperately to complete the antidote, where millions of people waited for salvation, where the future of the galaxy would be decided. "Alina," he broadcast, "the antidote. Is it ready?" "Almost. Just a few more minutes, you have them." Marcus raised his transformed hands, feeling the power of the predecessor weapon flowing through him. "I'll make sure of it." Predecessor weapon flowed through Marcus's like liquid fire, transforming not just his body but his very essence. He could feel the bioweapons spread through the station, could sense each victim's pain, could see the paths that led to salvation or damnation. "Alina," he said, his voice carrying across space without need for communication devices. "I'm going to slow the bioweapon spread. You have the time you need." "Marcus, what's happening to you?" "I'm becoming what I need to be," Marcus extended. His transformed consciousness throughout Proxima Station is touching every contaminated area, every spreading molecule of the bioweapon. The predecessor weapon's power allowed him to interact with matter at the quantum level, to slow chemical reactions, to buy precious time. The dying stopped screaming. The bioweapon spread slowed to a crawl. Throughout the station, victims found themselves able to breathe again, their symptoms stabilizing. "Impossible," Admiral Reeves whispered from the bridge of the Valiant. "The readings. It's like he's rewriting the laws of physics." "It's not rewriting," Marcus replied, his voice somehow reaching every ship in the system. "Understanding. The predecessors built this weapon to judge civilizations, to determine who was worthy of survival. But they made a mistake. They assumed justice was about punishment." The bioweapon samples in Elena's laboratory began to change, their molecular structure shifting. As Marcus's influence reached them, the deadly organism was transforming, becoming something else entirely. "Marcus," Elena said, her voice filled with wonder, "the bioweapon is neutralizing itself. It's becoming a healing agent." "Justice isn't about punishment," Marcus continued, his consciousness expanding to touch every mind in the system. "It's about restoration, about making things right." Throughout Proxima Station, the victims of the bioweapon began to heal. The toxic molecules that had poisoned their systems were transforming, becoming medicine instead of poison. The dead remained dead, but the dying were saved. "The antidote is ready," Alina announced. "But I don't think we need it anymore." Marcus smiled, feeling the weight of his choices, the magnitude of what he'd accomplished. But the transformation was taking its toll. The predecessor weapon's power was burning through him, consuming his humanity bit by bit. "Admiral Reeves," he said, "I'm transmitting the complete evidence about the collective to Earth Command. Make sure they understand what happened here. Make sure they know why we had to act. Captain ... Marcus, you're dying, aren't you? Becoming something else. Something the galaxy needs." The Cathari fleet began to sing, their voices creating harmonics that resonated through space itself. It was a song of triumph, of justice served, of a champion who had proven worthy of their trust. Champion, war leader Kex High's voice carried across the void, the spirits welcome you. You have become one with the eternal justice that guides all things. But Marcus wasn't finished. Throughout the galaxy, he could sense other weapons, other atrocities waiting to be unleashed. The collective's research had been distributed to buyers across dozens of star systems. The work was far from over. Alina, he said, I need you to continue the work. You understand the science behind the bioweapons. You can develop countermeasures. I will, but Marcus, there has to be another way. You don't have to sacrifice yourself. Some things are worth dying for. You taught me that. The predecessor weapon was fully integrated with his consciousness now, its power flowing through every cell of his body. Marcus could feel himself changing, becoming something beyond human, beyond mortal, a force of justice that would protect the innocent across the galaxy. Torres, he said, you have command of the determination. With Admiral Reeves, the Earth Alliance and the Cathari need to be allies, not enemies. Sir, ... It's been an honor serving with you. The honor was mine. Marcus turned his attention to the greater galaxy, sensing the networks of corruption and cruelty that spread like cancer through civilized space. The collective was just one symptom of a larger disease. But now there was a cure. I won't be Marcus Voss anymore, he said, his voice reaching every inhabited world in the sector. I'll be something more. A guardian, a protector, a force that ensures justice is served. The transformation was complete. Marcus felt his human form dissolving, becoming pure energy, pure will, pure justice. The predecessor weapon was no longer a tool he wielded, was what he had become. Remember me, he said, his voice fading as his consciousness expanded beyond the physical realm. Remember that when good people are willing to sacrifice everything, evil cannot prevail. The light faded, the energy dispersed. Marcus Voss was gone, but something greater had taken his place throughout the galaxy. Those who preyed on the innocent would find themselves facing judgment. Bioweapons would transform into medicines. Slave traders would find their victims freed. Corrupt officials would discover their crimes. Exposed justice had found its champion. Alina stood in the medical bay of Proxima Station, tears streaming down her face as she watched the readings on her scanner. The bioweapon was completely neutralized. The victims were healing. The station was safe. He did it, she whispered. He actually did it. Admiral Reeves appeared on the communication screen, his face showing a mixture of grief and awe. Dr. Vasquez, I need you to know that Captain Voss has been posthumously awarded the highest honors the Earth Alliance can bestow. He will be remembered. As a hero? He was always a hero, Alina replied. He just needed the right moment to prove it. Outside, the combined fleet was forming up for departure. The crisis was over, but the work continued. The galaxy was safer because one man had been willing to sacrifice everything for justice in the depths of space. Something that had once been Marcus Voss watched over them all, ensuring that the innocent would always have a protector, that the guilty would always face judgment, and that justice would always prevail. Some things, after all, were worth dying for, and some things were worth living forever to protect. In the years that followed, the Cathari would speak of the human champion who had lifted their healer into his arms and carried justice to the stars. Children across the galaxy would learn the story of Captain Marcus Voss, who proved that true strength lies not in following orders, but in doing what's right. And in the darkest corners of space, those who would harm the innocent would whisper of the Guardiana force of justice that could not be bargained with, could not be reasoned with, and would never stop protecting those who could not protect themselves. They had dragged her through the streets, but he had lifted her into his arms, and in doing so, he had lifted the entire galaxy.